University leadership, distinguished guests, class of 2026, congratulations. It is such a great honor and pleasure for me to be here to celebrate this milestone with you. What can I say to you? I suspect many of you are already far better prepared than I was at your age. And I trust that if you haven't already found it, you will in time discover your own sense of purpose and meaning. I've lived a long life, and I still cannot claim to have found any ultimate answer or truth. Like all of you, I continue to live the questions, as Rilke wrote in Letters to a Young Poet. A couple of months ago, I was asked to provide a short bio for the commencement announcement. I've done this many times before for different organizations, and each time as I arrange the words, I feel as though they're describing someone else. Everything it says is true, and yet what genuinely matters always seems to be missing. So today, I would like to share with you something of that invisible, warm interior that forms my core. At the age of 14, I was picked from my high school rifle team to play a girl soldier in a film called Shan in the Shanghai Film Studio. Though I had little formal education, I had a deep thirst for reading. Back then, most literary works were banned and books were scarce. But my maternal grandmother had kept a secret stash of books in the attic, and she would let me borrow one on my sick days. Nose stuffed, chest congested, throat burning, I lived more fully in those moments than at any other time in my childhood. And in those years, people couldn't travel freely. Yet I was lucky enough at 15 to be sent on location to Huangshan. It was for a film called Youth. That was the first time I truly experienced nature. The granite spires rising out of a sea of clouds, the pines sculpted by centuries of wind, the steep stone steps along which our daily provisions were carried up the mountain. Around that age, the word God entered my vocabulary, and its meaning revealed itself to me not through religion, but through the ever-changing light, shadow, color of the yellow mountain. Now looking back, the hunger for books and the encounter with nature in my formative years had sustained me throughout my life, throughout the good times and the desperate ones, especially the desperate ones. In those depths, it was reading. Reading always brought a sliver of light that restored my faith, and nature, my sense of awe. So from my early 20s, to my mid-30s, I read almost indiscriminately. Whitman, Blake, Hesse, D.H. Lawrence, Virginia Woolf, Marcus, Ilsa, writers that many in the West take for granted, but whom I had never encountered before. There was a period I was completely immersed in Milan Kundera, who gave language to experiences I had felt but could not articulate. Later, I discovered Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett through a film noir class and fell into detective novels with equal passion. I'm by nature a loner, and I found communion with authors, many of whom long gone from this world, deeply rewarding and healing. Numerous times in my life, when failure felt too heavy to carry, I opened Whitman's Leaves of Grass and met a voice that understood defeat without shame. It says, "I am an old artillerist. I tell of my fort's bombardment. I am there again. Again the attacking cannon, the smoke, the volleys. I see the gap cut by enemy's fire, quickly filled, no delay. I breathe the suffocating smoke. And yet, the defeat is honorable. Battles are lost in the same spirit in which they are won. I beat and pound for the dead. I raise my horn and play the loudest and gayest for them. Vivas to those who have failed, and to those whose war's vessels sank in the sea, and to those themselves who sank in the sea, and to all generals that lost engagement, and numberless, and all the overcome heroes, and numberless unknown heroes, equal to the greatest heroes known. In this equation of victory and defeat, I found my dignity and courage affirmed, my wounds solved, my soul expanded. To borrow from Rebecca Sonnet, I disappeared into books like someone running into the woods. And speaking of running into the woods, this phrase is equally true of the real world, where you look at a shimmering sunset filtered through tall trees and feel stilled, at one with the universe. In 1988, I spent a month in the Australian desert filming Blood of Heroes. Much of that distant memory has faded, but I can still see the luminous Milky Way, the faint outline of dunes, the distant rock formations, and the mussel fossils I picked up and then lost. They had lain untouched under the desert shrubs, which had been the bottom of the ocean for hundreds of millions of years before my hand found them. I was awestruck by the mystery of the universe. I can't quite define what happiness is, but when I was learning French for my latest film, Montreal, My Beautiful, I came across the French word for happiness, bonheur. Bon means good, heure, hour. Native speakers may not think of this way, but I couldn't help believing that happiness might simply be a good hour. A good hour feels attainable. Perhaps those wonder-struck hours under the southern sky are happiness, or the quiet hours spent reading a book. I once read that happiness is to be dissolved into something complete and great. And when it comes as naturally as sleep. That's how I felt at times, reading a book or standing beneath the vast sky, dissolved into something larger than myself. Each of you will discover your own definition of happiness. Do not let anyone define it for you. Your true essence is not your resume, but the secret, untouchable, crystallized inner life that only you can know. Tomorrow, you will leave this comfortable cocoon and enter a chaotic world. You will be officially adults. But please, forever, keep and nurture that curious child within you. Continue to experience the small miracles around you with a child's sense of wonder. Whether it is a golden beetle, a pink cloud, a blue butterfly, a book, or anything that feels miraculous to you. Stay open to the epiphanies these moments bring. I may sound presumptuous, but I imagine few of you will be worried about your next meal. That kind of hardship, in a way, offers clarity. What you may face instead is something more diffuse, a kind of existential anxiety in a world driven by endless desire. It becomes all the more important then to find what enchants you, what sustains you spiritually, what allows you to merge with your destiny. And finally, dear young people, fall in love with the sun and the moon, with the rivers and fishes, with the mountains and animals, deeply, intensely, again and again, despite what you may hear on the internet. Personally, I found that the vulnerability, humility, heartbreak, and rapture that love brings are among the most authentic, transformative experience life can offer. These moments of luminous intensity remain in my memory like stars, vivid and enduring, while the stretches of time between them dissolve into soft and distant haze. I'll leave you with a passage from The Painted Drum by Louise Erdrich. Life will break you. Nobody can protect you from that. And living alone won't either, for solitude will also break you with its yearning. You have to love. You have to feel. You're here to risk your heart. That's why you're on earth. You're here to risk your heart. You're here to be swallowed up. And when it happens that you're broken or betrayed or left or hurt or death brushes near, let yourself sit by an apple tree and listen to the apples falling all around you in heaps, wasting their sweetness. Tell yourself you tasted as many as you could. Congratulations.